Imagine a child saying the milk tasted wrong, and within a year, 7 people are dead. This is not a horror story. This is Paisley, 1697, one of the last mass witch executions in Western Europe. It all begins with something almost ordinary. A servant, a drink of milk, and a curse that never should have been believed. Before we go any further, 2 quick notes. First, this story includes historical injustice, accusations of witchcraft, and execution. I'm telling it calmly and respectfully, because these were real people in a brutal system, not characters in a drama. Second, and this is important, what people in 1697 called witchcraft is not the same as modern Wicca or witchcraft today. This story is about fear, power, and scapegoats, not about the craft as we practice it now. Let's step into their world. To understand Paisley, we need to understand the time. In Scotland, witchcraft had been treated as a serious crime for well over a century. Trials peaked between the 1500s and the early 1700s. Communities were under pressure from religious tensions, political change, harsh winters, and illness with no clear cause. When you're frightened and you don't have answers, it becomes very easy to find someone to blame. And the law of the day gave people a framework to turn suspicion into punishment. The central figure in this story is a girl called Christine Shaw, about 11 years old in 1696. The story goes like this. Christine sees a servant, Agnes Naismith, stealing a drink of milk. Christine reports it. The servant, already in a vulnerable position, is said to respond with sharp words, a curse, or at least something that sounded like one. Not long after, Christine becomes unwell. She has fits, seizures, and deeply distressing episodes that nobody could explain medically. In an age before neurology or mental health care, people reached for the explanations they knew: possession, bewitchment, the devil. And once a community decides this is witchcraft, things escalate very quickly. Christine begins to name names. At first, it's those closest to the original argument. Then more people are drawn in. The list of supposed witches grows. Each new episode of illness, each description of invisible torment adds pressure to do something. Church authorities become involved. Fasts and public prayers are organized. What began as a family crisis becomes a town emergency. The local story of a sick girl is pulled into a much larger narrative about evil, sin, and enemies of God. The Scottish Privy Council becomes involved through formal commissions. These are official investigations with the power to order arrests and send people for trial. A physician, Alexander Skene, is said to have examined Christine and found no clear natural cause. In that context, words like that could push a case firmly into supernatural territory. Eventually, 7 people are at the center of the storm. James Shaw, Agnes Naismith, Margaret Fulton, John Reed, John Dixon, Margaret Barclay, and Catherine Campbell. They are arrested. They are questioned. They are held in conditions designed to exhaust and break them. Whether we use the word torture or not, the power dynamic is clear. The authorities are looking for confessions that match the story they already believe. one of the darkest moments comes before the final executions. John Reed is found dead in his cell, reported as a suicide. However, you understand the spiritual side of this story. This single fact tells us something about the psychological weight of what was happening. The accusations, the imprisonment, the interrogations, the system itself was a kind of slow, crushing death. On the 10th of June, 1697, the remaining condemned are taken to a place called Gallow Green. There they are hanged until dead. Afterwards, their bodies are burned. We are not showing faces. We are not recreating pain. We are simply acknowledging what was done to them. This event is often described as the last mass execution for witchcraft in Western Europe. Whatever language people used at the time, witch, devil, curse. What we're really looking at is panic made official. The state uses death as an answer to fear. After the executions, the story doesn't simply stop, it changes shape. Legends grow around what happened, especially around Agnes Naismith, who is said to have pronounced a curse on the town. Whenever Paisley faced later hardships, some people pointed back to her words, as if one woman's supposed curse could explain centuries of struggle. And Christine Shaw, she doesn't vanish into history. She later becomes associated with the local thread industry and manufacturing. A shift from the center of a witch panic to a figure in the story of Paisley's economic life. History is strange. The accused die and are largely forgotten. The accuser grows up and moves on. Today, in Paisley, there are memorials and markers that quietly acknowledge what happened, including at Gallow Green and in other parts of the town. They're not grand monuments. They're more like gentle reminders that history isn't only about kings and parliaments. Sometimes it's about ordinary people who are crushed by reputation, accusation, and the machinery of the law. In the end, the Paisley Witch Trials are not just a story about the past. They're a warning about what happens when fear feels more convincing than facts, and when ordinary people become absolutely certain they know who the evil ones are. So, as modern witches, spiritual folk, or simply humans trying to be decent, be careful with certainty. Be gentle with people. And remember those who died because others refused to question their own fear. Blessed be. If you'd like more Scottish witch history told calmly, without jump scares or gore, you can like this video and subscribe to Wiccan Trail, so you don't miss the next story on the path.